Here's an expanded version of Scene 1, aiming for roughly 1,000 words, keeping it immersive and emotionally intense. The hospital smelled of antiseptic, cold and clinical, mingled with the faint, metallic tang of fear that always seemed to linger around the critically ill. Machines hummed and beeped in a mechanical rhythm, indifferent to the despair in the room. Maria lay on the crisp white hospital bed, her body motionless below the waist, her legs numb and unresponsive. She stared blankly at the ceiling, her mind a swirling storm of fear, frustration, and helplessness. The doctors had come and gone in an endless parade, each one leaving behind a trail of complicated medical jargon and a sense of finality that felt suffocating. The spinal damage is permanent, one had said with a calm authority that felt cold rather than comforting. Another had shrugged almost apologetically, offering months of therapy and rehabilitation that, statistically, promised little improvement. Her ex-husband had tried to stay, to be a pillar of support, but his presence felt fragile, insufficient. He hovered near the bed, shifting nervously from one foot to the other, offering smiles that didn't reach his eyes and words that sounded rehearsed. "We'll get through this," he said, brushing a lock of hair from her forehead, but Maria could see the tension etched in his jaw. Even he seemed to doubt the possibility of a future where she could walk again. Then came Alex. He wasn't a doctor. He wasn't a renowned surgeon or a billionaire philanthropist who could fund experimental treatments. He was a single father, unremarkable in appearance and daily life, yet extraordinary in one crucial way, his refusal to accept impossibility when it came to someone he cared for. Alex had heard about Maria's condition from mutual friends. He hadn't been there when the accident happened, he had never met her in the chaos that followed. But something in his gut had told him that he needed to be there now, that if anyone could offer a chance at hope, it was someone who didn't rely on titles or degrees, someone who could simply refuse to quit. He entered the room with a sense of urgency, his boots echoing softly against the hospital tiles. Doctors turned their heads, a mixture of curiosity and skepticism crossing their faces. Alex ignored them. He approached the bed, kneeling gently beside Maria, and took her hand in his. His grip was firm, grounding, reassuring. "Hey," he said softly. His voice carried the strange mixture of authority and gentleness that made it impossible to ignore. "I know they said it's impossible. But sometimes, impossible just means no one's tried the right way yet." Maria blinked slowly, confused, wary. She didn't know this man, had never expected anyone outside her doctors or family to step into her life in this way. And yet, there was something magnetic in his presence, something that bypassed her defenses and reached directly to the part of her that still remembered hope. Her fingers twitched slightly in his hand, a tiny signal of willingness, a whisper that maybe she could try. Alex didn't waste a moment. He began by instructing her to perform the smallest movements. Flex your toes, wiggle your fingers, feel the energy in your body. His tone was calm but insistent, steady enough to cut through the panic that had lodged itself in her chest. Hours passed with slow, deliberate exercises, each one pushing Maria a fraction further than the last. He supported her trembling legs, offering guidance and encouragement with every tentative movement. "You're stronger than you know. Trust your body. I'll be right here." The doctors hovered at the edge of the room, some with thinly veiled skepticism, others genuinely intrigued. They watched Alex support Maria's body, adjust her position, coax movements out of muscles that hadn't been used in months. One of them whispered, almost to themselves, "He shouldn't even be doing this, it's dangerous." But Alex didn't flinch. He had calculated every risk, measured every reaction. He trusted Maria's body in a way the clinical experts hadn't dared to. Pain flared across Maria's body as she tried to lift her legs, each movement sending shocks of discomfort up her spine, yet she persisted, drawn by the unwavering confidence in Alex's eyes. He held her hand tightly, murmuring instructions, correcting her posture, adjusting her support as if he were conducting an invisible orchestra where every note mattered. "Breathe with me. One more try. You've got this," he whispered. His voice became a lifeline, tethering her to the possibility of progress, coaxing the muscles, the nerves, the willpower that had lain dormant. Time became a blur. The sun outside the hospital windows rose and fell, casting shifting patterns across the pale walls. The rhythmic beeping of the machines became a background score to their effort, almost fading in significance against the drama of human persistence. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, Maria's leg twitched. Just a flicker, a tiny quiver, but enough to make her gasp. Alex leaned closer, his smile a mixture of triumph and relief. "There it is. That's it. Don't stop. Keep going. I'm right here." Her eyes widened, disbelief mixing with a tentative spark of hope. She tried again, this time lifting her legs slightly higher. Pain threatened to overwhelm her, but Alex's presence, his words, his hands, steady, encouraging, anchored her. Step by step, movement by movement, she began to regain control, the impossible inching toward reality. The doctors, now fully attentive, could only watch in stunned silence. The same people who had declared her condition irreversible were witnessing, firsthand, a miracle of determination and human spirit. Alex's unconventional methods, his refusal to accept defeat, were yielding results no scalpel, no prescription, no clinical protocol had achieved. Hours melted away into night. Sweat glistened on Alex's forehead, his arms ached from supporting her fragile, trembling body, but he remained undeterred. One more try, he encouraged gently, and I know you can do it. Maria, her face flushed with pain and effort, nodded. She trusted him, and with that trust, she made a movement that no one in the room had expected. Her leg lifted higher, more controlled, more deliberate. It wasn't perfect, it wasn't free of pain. But it was movement, real movement, a tangible step toward recovery. Alex's eyes shone with relief, his voice barely more than a whisper, see. You're stronger than they said. You just needed to believe it. For the first time in months, Maria felt something she hadn't dared hope for, the possibility that she might walk again. And in that hospital room, amid the machines, the beeping monitors, the skepticism of the doctors, a single dad, ordinary in appearance but extraordinary in determination, showed the world that love, persistence, and belief could achieve what medicine alone could not. If you want, I can also expand scene 2 to 1,000 words in the same rich, emotional style so the story flows fully from beginning to miraculous end. Do you want me to do that next? Here's an expanded version of scene 2, aiming for roughly 1,000 words, continuing the emotional depth and cinematic feel. The hospital room was bathed in morning light, sunlight streaming through the tall windows and spilling across the polished floors in warm, golden streaks. The air, once thick with the sterile chill of despair, now carried a sense of quiet triumph. The machines that had once beeped incessantly, marking every minor fluctuation in Maria's body, now sat largely silent, their relevance diminished by the miracle unfolding before them. Maria sat on the edge of the bed, her posture cautious yet determined. Her legs, once lifeless and unresponsive, now held her weight, tentatively but undeniably. Each movement was a negotiation between fear and possibility, between pain and the exhilaration of progress. Beside her, Alex knelt, supporting her with careful, unwavering attention. His hands were steady at her waist, his eyes constantly tracking every tremor, every shift, every flicker of strength. Tears welled in Maria's eyes as she turned to him. Words failed her, but the gratitude, the shock, and the relief shone unmistakably in her gaze. She had endured months of paralysis, of doctors' grim predictions, of hopeless nights where her body refused to respond, and now, here, in this sunlit room, she was moving, walking, reclaiming what had been taken from her. And it had not been the doctors, not the sophisticated machines or costly treatments, but this single man with a quiet, fierce devotion, who had guided her back to life. Alex encouraged her with gentle words, leaning closer so that the tone of his voice wrapped around her like a protective shield. Take it slowly, one step at a time. I'm right here. You've got this. His fingers brushed against hers, steadying, reassuring. Maria drew a deep breath, feeling the air fill her lungs as she attempted another step. The muscles screamed in protest, the numbness threatened to return, but she pressed on. And then it happened. The impossible, the miracle that no doctor had promised, no statistic had predicted. Maria's foot lifted fully, her leg supported her weight. She placed it down again, wobbling slightly, but she was standing, truly standing. A gasp escaped her lips, half disbelief, half triumph, as tears began to stream down her cheeks. At the doorway, a figure appeared, her mother, who had been waiting outside, hesitant, afraid of what she might find. The moment her eyes fell on Maria, standing and supported by Alex, she froze. Her hand flew to her mouth as a tremor ran through her body. The years of worry, of fear for her daughter's future, crashed over her like a tidal wave. She stepped forward slowly, her legs unsteady as if the gravity of the moment had left her unable to walk straight. Mom, Maria whispered, her voice breaking. She wanted to reach out, to reassure, to share the miracle with her. Her mother stumbled into the room and collapsed onto Maria's chest, wrapping her arms around her as sobs racked her body. She wept not for pain, not for loss, but for relief so overwhelming it could no longer be contained. Tears soaked Maria's hospital gown as she held her mother close, their bodies shaking together in a cathartic release of months of anxiety and despair. Alex stood beside them, his own emotions quiet but no less intense. He watched the scene unfold, feeling the weight of what had just been accomplished. He had guided her, supported her, refused to accept impossibility, and now he watched the tangible result of that relentless faith. He didn't need praise, didn't seek recognition. The sight of Maria's tears of joy, her mother's uncontrollable relief, was reward enough. Maria's mother lifted her head slightly, her eyes red and swollen, and looked from her daughter to Alex. We were ready to give up, she stammered, her voice quivering, but you saved her. You did what no one else could. Her words hung in the air, heavy with awe and gratitude. Alex shook his head gently, brushing a strand of hair from Maria's face. We did it together, he said softly. I just knew you weren't finished yet. You just needed someone to believe in you, and that's all it took. Maria blinked through tears, her lips curving into a tentative smile. I don't even know how to thank you, she whispered. Her legs trembled, but with Alex's hands guiding her, she took a cautious step forward. The floor felt foreign beneath her feet, each step a negotiation between memory and muscle, fear and determination. Take your time, Alex encouraged, never letting go, never allowing doubt to creep in. One step, then another. You've got this. Her mother stepped back slightly to give them space, but her hands remained near, ready to catch, to support, to witness. She watched as Maria took step after careful step, her confidence growing with each movement. It was not just a physical recovery, it was the reclaiming of autonomy, of life, of hope that had seemed lost forever. A smile of pure joy spread across Maria's face as she finally stood unsupported for a few moments, balancing precariously but successfully. She laughed through her tears, a sound filled with disbelief and delight. I can actually stand, she exclaimed, her voice echoing in the bright, sunlit room. Alex's smile mirrored hers, a mixture of pride and relief. He gently guided her to take a few more steps, then another, until she was walking across the room, her mother's sobs of joy punctuating each careful movement. Doctors who had once pronounced her condition hopeless now stood in silent astonishment at the doorway, unable to deny what they were witnessing. Maria's mother collapsed again, this time onto a chair, burying her face in her hands as she wept for the miracle that had unfolded before her eyes. I don't even know how this happened, she whispered, her voice muffled but full of reverence. I don't understand how. Alex shook his head, brushing off the praise. It's simple, he said gently. She never gave up. I just reminded her that she could. The room, once sterile and cold, was now filled with warmth that came from human determination, from love, from belief in the impossible. Maria took a deep breath, the sensation of standing, of feeling her own strength returning, filling her chest with a rush of exhilaration. Her mother reached for her hands again, holding them tightly, tears still flowing but now mixed with laughter and relief. Hours passed, and by midday, Maria could walk small distances with Alex's guidance. Each step was celebrated quietly, a triumph over months of despair, a testament to perseverance and faith. The walls of the hospital room seemed to hum with a new energy, a silent acknowledgement of a miracle achieved not through machines, not through money, not through fame, but through unrelenting belief and human determination. And in that room, as the sunlight fell across the floor and the air shimmered with warmth and hope, a single dad's unwavering faith had rewritten the rules of possibility. He had done what the best doctors had said couldn't be done. He had given a woman her life back, and in doing so, he had reminded everyone present that sometimes, miracles were less about skill and more about love, patience, and refusing to give up when the world said you should. If you like, I can also create cinematic image prompts for both Scene 1 and Scene 2, highlighting the dramatic and emotional moments for visual storytelling. It would make these scenes ready for illustrations or thumbnails. Do you want me to do that next?